as women, we do get kind of used to going to see a movie or a television show, and you're like, okay, 30% of this speaks to me. And we're okay with that at this point. We're like used to it. We're used to fitting ourselves into that 30%, making it into what we need in order to be fed by the movies we're watching. And every once in a while I read a script where there's the possibility of expressing 100% of my female experience.
I was pitched the story a number of years ago when that film had come out, and I watched it, and I really loved it. It's a beautiful film, and I thought the story itself, the DNA of that story was just so good. Like, it had just good bones. But I knew I wanted to make something different, and I don't necessarily always like adapt or do remakes. But when I saw it, I said, okay, this is great. I want to reframe it from a woman's perspective. The original is about sort of masculinity and art in Israel, in a country at war. It's a very different discussion. But I thought that, particularly in this administration, the discussion of, what is the value of art in America was hopefully relevant. And I was really excited by the character of the kindergarten teacher, and I wanted to root her in more detail and idiosyncrasy. And when Maggie decided to come on board, I was so excited because I felt that she had the intensity and the sensitivity to really give this character the depth that it needed.
I read Sarah's script, and Sarah is a brilliant writer, and I read the script and I had the feeling that I have had a few times in my career where I've thought, this is for me. And this movie, to me, I didn't see the first one. So, to me, I feel like it's about a woman who is hungry and wants to be awake in the world, but is driven crazy by the culture and the time that she finds herself living in. And it's the same culture and time that we are living in now. And so, I've related to it in a deep way,
We started like 3 or 4 months before shooting, and we looked at kids, all over New York City. I really wanted a local, a native New Yorker. And I was intrigued. We opened it up to everybody. I was intrigued by the idea of the child of an immigrant, that the next artist or the next poet of America would be the child of an immigrant. But in casting, Parker, we looked at children that had no experience with acting and some who did. And we had, 3 or 4 finalists at the end, and we just kind of did one-on-one videos with them and Maggie. And Parker just, it's just such a beautiful thing to watch Parker and Maggie interact. Maggie would bring in poems, and they would just play word games. It was actually really wonderful to watch, and Parker just lit up, and he had this playfulness that I think was just so appropriate for the role, because we didn't want this kind of inward prodigy type. We wanted a kid that would be a kid, and I felt like that would really give us that kind of, the kind of push and pull that I needed for this character, where he actually does want to be a kid. He doesn't know exactly what he's creating and the beauty of it.
And in some ways, it's her that's framing this thing that he's doing as poetry, or as good poetry, or it's her need to be connected to art, to humanity, that puts this on him. I don't think it's really the story of a genius kid.
Right.
That's not the point of the movie.
As a director, you're always kind of nitpicking in I was in the mix last week, and this time at the screen, I just let myself go and really enjoy it. And it was really wonderful kind of seeing how everyone reacted. And I think it was a great response.
Yeah, I really found it thrilling. I've seen many cuts of it. I actually hadn't seen this very, very final last cut. There were a couple of tiny surprises. But I had never seen it with an audience, and I felt it was hard to watch, but really exciting. I think it is the movie I wanted to make. you know, and that's an incredible feeling, and it doesn't always happen that way.